Now I have one more example to work out on solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Alright, so let's look at this example. Solve the equation 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equal to 0 by completing the square. Alright, so let's go on to the solution. We have the equation 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equal to 0. If you look at this equation, quadratic equation, you can see that it's different comparing it with the ones we were doing in the previous lesson, because the coefficient of x squared is not equal to 1 like we were used to. In this case, the coefficient of x squared is equal to 3. So our first task is to make the coefficient of x squared to be 1 by dividing both sides by 3. So that's our first task. We divide both sides by 3 to make the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So that's what I'm going to do next. And then we'll get our equation as x squared minus 5 over 3 of x minus 2/3 equal to 0. After having done that, then we now continue with our completing the square just as we were doing in the previous workings. So the next task is to place the constant term to the right hand side, if you can recall. So it becomes positive 2/3. That means that we'll be left with x squared minus 5 over 3 of x being equal to positive 2/3. Alright, and from here I make the left hand side a perfect square. Remember, that's how we were doing it, and we do that by adding half of the coefficient of x squared to both sides. So the coefficient of x is negative 5 over 3, and half of that squared, then we'll be having negative 5 over 6 squared. So that's what we'll be getting. I'm not going to simplify it yet, but this is half of the coefficient of x squared. So we add that to both sides of the equation. Alright, so after having done that, then we simplify. The left hand side will now come out as, let's just have a little bit of space. So the left hand side will come out as x minus 5 over 6 squared. So that's what we'll be having on the left hand side. And the right hand side will be simplified. Then we'll be having 2/3 plus the square of negative 5 over 6 is 25 over 36, and we can just continue simplifying that, adding the two fractions on the right hand side. Then we'll be having the solution as 49 over 36. Alright, next we square root both sides to remove the squared on the left hand side. So if we square root both sides, then on the left hand side we'll be having x minus 5 over 6, and on the right hand side we'll be having plus or minus 7 over 6. Remember, the square root of 49 is 7 and the square root of 36 is 6. And next I'm going to shift negative 5 over 6 to the right hand side. So that means that we'll be having now x being equal to 5 over 6 positive plus or minus 7 over 6. Now, and these are two solutions. This is 5 over 6 plus 7 over 6, or 5 over 6 minus 7 over 6. And we can now just simplify. On this first one here is 5 plus 7, which is 12, and 12 over 6 gives us 2. And here it's 5 minus 7, which is minus 2, and minus 2 over 6 can be reduced to give us minus 1/3. And these are now our solutions for the value of x. We have our solution as 2 or negative 1/3. So in this video we've learned how to solve a quadratic equation in a case where the coefficient of x squared is not equal to 1. So this is the method, this is how we do it. First making the coefficient of x squared to be 1 and solving now the rest of the equation using the method of completing the square.